Is this biopic of Michael Jackson actually a good movie?
Just some scary movie.
Get inside! Get inside! Get inside!
Believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you strange. See people. They don't know they're dead.
About family when family's all that we got. Everything I would do, you.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video. Welcome back to my review of Micheal. This is, of course, the biopic slash drama telling the story of Michael Jackson and how he came from an abusive, depressing childhood and starring with his brothers in the Jackson 5 and rising to the king of pop and being one of the most popular people on the entire planet. This was, of course, written by John Logan and directed by Anton Fuqua, and of course starring Jafar. So, is Micheal actually a good biopic, or is it a bad movie? Let's find out and get to the review. Let's go. Quickly before we get started with today's video, I just want to give you guys some backstory on Michael Jackson. Okay, so I am a huge fan of Michael Jackson. I think that he is an incredible, sorry, my hair is just being ridiculous. I think he's an incredible star, and yeah, he is just an incredible, very, very talented guy. And I've been a huge fan of him ever since I was like 5 years old. I've absolutely loved all of his songs, and I, to this day, still listen to them. They're my jam. He's got a lot of bangers, so yeah, I'm a huge fan of Michael Jackson, especially when you live under the roof with my mother, who is like the biggest Michael Jackson fan ever. So yeah, I've always been a big fan of Michael Jackson. So I just wanted to tell you guys that. And also, yeah, I've been pretty excited for this movie. I'm normally not a fan of biopics at all. Like, I'm not very interested in them. But when it's actually about a star or a band or somebody that I like, I'm actually interested. And since I'm a huge fan of Michael Jackson, I was definitely pumped up to see this movie in theaters. And it came out just like around my birthday, kind of like a week after, so that was kind of nice that it was in my birthday month. But anyway, yeah, let's actually just get diving into the positives here. Okay, so my first positive for Michael is the story. I think that this movie masters the story very, very well. Now, to be clear, I'm not 100% familiar with the story. I know like 30% of the story, like of course I knew like how he died, some of the mistakes he made in his life, and some other issues that occurred in his life. I'm not totally familiar with all of it. Like, I didn't know that he actually had an abusive father. I didn't know that. So, like, there was a lot of stuff that I watched in this movie that, that came to me. I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that. Although, like, I can't say, like, fully that it mastered the story because I'm not 100% familiar with the story. So, I can't say that this movie, mastered the story correctly because, I'm not 100% accurate with the story and, so. But from what I knew walking into the film, I thought the story was executed very, very well for, the first half of this story. So I thought the story was done very, very well. Another positive definitely is the look of the movie. I think visually this movie looks really, really good. I think there's a lot of really cool shots in this movie. The camera angle, all of that's great. I think this film was edited very, very well. I like the pacing of the movie. I like the look of the movie because, the film, like, transfers from, like, the 60s to the 70s to the 80s. So, like, 3 different decades it transfers from. So I thought, like, within each year, I thought the film did look good. It mastered the years, so it looked like the 1960s. It looked like the 80s, even though it wasn't from the 80s. But, like, from what my parents have told me and from all the movies I've seen that take place in those time periods, I thought the movie mastered that very, very well. Also, like, the costume designs, all of that looked great. It looked like you were in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. So I thought all of that was great. Like, the concerts as well, I thought they looked incredible, and the editing and all that was great. So I think the film was very well directed and a well-made movie. Another positive for me is definitely the songs. The biggest positive of this movie, Yeah, you know, he's got a lot of bangers in here. I mean, whether you're talking about like Beat It, Thriller, Bad, Billie Jean, like you got a lot of bangers in here, and I was just like grooving with the music. It was really hard not to sing along. In my head, I was like screaming to the songs, you know, but you know, if I could choose between singing and getting kicked out of the theater or just, you know, shutting up and singing in my head, and of course I shut up and sang in my head, but whatever. I thought, you know, all the songs and all that were really, really good, and, you know, it really, you know, put a smile on my face listening to all of those songs, and, yeah, so I was a big fan of that. The last, like, 30 minutes are all a bunch of concerts, so I was a big fan of that, because it really felt like I was actually at a Michael Jackson concert, so that was really, really cool to me. Really liked that, so, yeah, the songs were definitely awesome. It was also really cool to see like how the Thriller film was made, where Michael Jackson was like watching like a bunch of classic horror movies, and then he got the idea to do a horror movie video and did Thriller, and that was cool to see like the behind the scenes of that and all that. So that was really, really awesome. The performances in this movie, you know, that's the main thing here. That's the main thing for like every movie. Yeah, they're really, really good. So you have Jafar Jackson. If you guys aren't aware, he is Michael Jackson's nephew. And I thought Jafar Jackson was great in this movie. I mean, he mastered everything. You know, all the dance moves, the moonwalk, all of that, he did so, so well. He was just incredible at that. Of course, he was just mouthing the words, but I thought he still did a good job because, you know, Michael Jackson's actually, like, his songs are being used in the movie, and Jafar Jackson just mouthing the words to make it look like he's singing, but he's not. So I thought Jafar Jackson did a good job at that, and he did a good job at the moonwalk and all the cool, fancy dance moves that Michael Jackson does. So he was really, really good at that. And his overall performance in the movie was very, very solid. You know, he's a very nice guy. He came from a very abusive childhood. So, yeah, like the kid actor for Michael Jackson, like the first 20 minutes, he was really solid. And Jafar Jackson was great in this movie. So he was great. You've got Coleman Domingo in here playing Michael Jackson's father, who is the abusive guy, and I thought he was really, really good in here, playing the villain of the film, the bad guy. We just want him to just get out of here, and yeah, you know, I thought Coleman Domingo delivered a great performance. He was easily the standout of the film. Yeah, he was spectacular as the villain. There's a lot of intense sequences with him, like you can see whenever, you know, the father, like, asks Michael to, like, come over here or something, and it's just the two of them. Like, you can see Michael, like, breathing really loudly and hard, and he's, like, really nervous and all that. So that was great. There's a scene where he whips Michael with a belt in the beginning of the movie, and you just immediately hate the guy. So, yeah, Coleman Domingo, he is incredible in this movie, playing the villain. I don't really know a lot of the other cast members in this movie. You got a bunch of random people. Like, I've seen them in other movies, but I just don't really recognize them. I mean, I do recognize them, but, like, I just don't know their names, and I don't want to, like, memorize a bunch of names and all that. So, you know, there's a bunch of other actors that I've seen in other movies before, but I'm just not, like, 100% familiar with them. But everyone else did a good job, whether it's, like, you know, a bodyguard, or it's Michael Jackson's family, or a friend or something. Like, they all did a good job. You also have Miles Teller in here, and I was surprised to see him in here, but yeah. You've got him, he's in a couple of scenes, but he was playing, like, Michael's manager, the guy who takes care of everything in terms of, like, concerts and all that. And I thought, you know, he didn't deliver, like, a spectacular performance like he does in other movies, but Miles Teller was still decent, and it was fun to see him in a movie like this, so that was nice. So performances in this movie were great as well. Yeah, so that's probably all of my positives. Yeah, let's head to the negatives. Moving on to the negatives. Now, walking out of this movie, I didn't have a lot of negatives for this film. I only had like one or two. Then I watched a couple of reviews, and I was like, yeah, I guess I could see that. I understand. So I kind of like didn't like fully take the negatives from other people, but like, you know, I got some ideas from me thinking about this movie more. So I have a couple of negatives. They're minor details, but whatever. First one is it's a part 1, part 2 thing that the Lionsgate is doing, and I'm done with part 1 and part 2. It's like, I'm just done with it. Just make a 4-hour film. I don't care. Just do it. There's some great ones, you know, but most of the time part 2s are actually better. There's some cases where it's not, where it's like Deathly Hallows, I think Part 1 is actually a better movie. Dead Reckoning Part 1 is a better movie. Wicked Part 1. Those movies are great, and I think they're better than the Part 2s. Here, though, I don't know if that'll be the case. I mean, there is a chance, though. I doubt it, though, because this film, like, felt very rushed, let me tell you. It was just, like, barely over the 2-hour mark, and it felt so rushed. So that was a big problem for me. It was just, like, speeding through a lot of things, and it could have taken time to, you know, introduce us more to Michael's life and all that, and I feel like the movie just sped through it, so wasn't the biggest fan of that, and I'm just overall not a fan that the movie left off in a cliffhanger, and, you know, we have to wait till, like, I don't even know if Part 2 has a release date. I think hopefully it comes out next year, but we'll see if, you know, this movie goes through the same problems the first movie did, so we'll see, but yeah, I feel like this movie could have easily been I feel like this movie could have easily been 3 hours long. I don't think it would have been 4 hours long, but, you know, they could have just done a 3-hour movie instead. Because I feel like there's only, like, an hour left of, like, things you can tell for his life. You know, Michael, you know, he takes all the drugs and all that, and he dies. Like, I feel like, you know, that's really it. Like, I don't know. I mean, Michael Jackson fans who are familiar with his story, tell me in the comments that there's more stuff that I don't know about, but from what I know is that they've done everything, and now all that's left is the dark stuff. And I feel like Part 2 is going to be a really dark movie, so yeah. And there is stuff that I did find out online and from my parents and all that about Michael Jackson, which I don't know are fully accurate. Of course, you know, a movie like this is not going to dive into it because it's PG-13 and no one wants to watch some of this stuff, but I feel like Michael Jackson apparently did some terrible things in his life. And, I mean, it's definitely from his abusive father and having, like, a really insecure childhood, so, yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, the movie was rushed. Don't like how it's, like, a Part 1, Part 2 kind of thing. I feel like the movie kind of, like, went back and forth with the drama and the biopic thing. So, like, it goes in between, you know, at one point it's, like, a drama focusing on some dark things in his life with his abusive father, and some uplifting things like getting a monkey. Yeah. And, you know, having, you know, some better relationships, like, with his mom and his brother and sisters, and, yeah, that kind of stuff. But the movie, like, touches it. Like, it barely touches upon those kind of things, and then just moves right back into the biopic and the concerts and all that. So the movie, like, goes really fast in between. And like I said, it's a very rushed movie, so it's, like, speeding through all of that, and I'm just not a fan of that. I wish it took its time. I don't care if it's 3 hours. I just wish the movie took its time to focus more on, like, some of the drama aspects. Like, you know, maybe it could have focused more on his relationship with his brothers and his sister, because the movie doesn't do that at all. His brothers and sister are barely in the movie. Like, there are a couple scenes with them, and I get it. It's not about them. It's Michael's story. But still, you know, they could have done some more, like, character development with Michael and his relationship with his siblings and all that. So that could have been interesting. Instead, they didn't do that. And also maybe his relationship with friends, his bodyguard, that kind of stuff. Instead, they didn't do that. So wasn't the biggest fan of that. And, like, I was still a happy camper watching this movie and seeing all the concerts and vibing to the music and all that, but I just wish the movie focused more on some of the drama aspects, instead of just, you know, focusing on just full biopic. And I know the second movie will do that for sure. Hopefully. If it doesn't, we are going to have a problem. But hopefully the second movie does. I know it probably will. But so I feel like this movie could have focused on that a little bit more. So that is it, guys. I'm going to give Michael an 8 out of 10. I thought this was a great movie. I had a blast listening to all of the music. The performances were great. Visually, the movie looked really, really good. I just wish the movie wasn't so rushed and took its time, you know, focusing more on the drama aspects of the film and of Michael's life. So, but overall, great movie. I definitely recommend this one to Michael Jackson fans and biopic fans. I do recommend this one to you too. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what did you think of Michael, and I will see you guys in the next one.